I just want to compel one of these other companies like Deadside or
Wait,
Scum.
isn't that what Shroud and Sacriel and those
Oh
guys?
yeah, maybe. Listen, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they.
If there's a chance in this world where we don't have hot dog fingers, I think like they're the last bastion. If
I
they
agree.
can't make it work, nobody will ever make it work, and the genre should die.
I agree. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, a show dedicated to talk about all the podcast things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. By now, I hope you know who we are. And this episode of the podcast is brought to you by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. You can go to HelloFresh.com/50podcast. If you're an avid listener, you'll notice that link has changed. And use code 50podcast for 50% off plus free shipping. Thank you, HelloFresh. Gotta get an early one in.
Yeah, my name is.
And my name is. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, I just haven't been like sleeping well, and yeah, a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, I've been fading fast early.
I feel you. I've been getting these dude, somewhere between 2 and 3 p.m. every day. I just get hit like a just complete. I am exhausted. I am just exhausted. It just hits me in a moment. And everybody, I always say I'm tired. Everybody always tells me all the things don't drink coffee for at least 90 minutes after you wake up, all that stuff. I do all that stuff. I'm an idiot. I wake up, I take a shower and make my coffee, which takes forever to make. It sits there for an hour before I ever take a sip because I just forget it's there. I don't drink caffeine super early in the morning. I drink tons of water. I always have a veggie smoothie shake in the morning before I drink my coffee. I do all the things you're supposed to do, but 2:30 comes around, I'm just gone. It's crazy every day.
Yeah, for me, mine's medication related. There's a couple of things that
rip.
Tweak a little bit because there's shortages and yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a big Adderall shortage, so that'll.
Oh, I've actually heard that from other people who I know take it. That sucks.
Yeah. So it's hard to get.
That's
whenever
brutal.
you want, wherever you want, right? I've obviously got my prescription because I've got an ADHD.
Yeah.
And it was much easier to get 30 milligram tablets than it was to get what I was taking before, which was 3 10 milligram tablets, which you think would be the same. Now, originally it was that because it was when I was less used to it.
Yeah.
I would take, one in the morning, a couple, 1 or 2 in the afternoon or some combination. And I was up all night. I was wired. I couldn't sleep. And I didn't want to I wasn't going to take that and then take sleeping pills. And
and then just start the downward spiral. Yeah.
Not all about that. So what I ended up doing was just taking all 3 in the morning, and it perfectly lasted throughout the day. But it all of a sudden was impossible to get those without having to call around at all the different pharmacies to say, do you have, and then have to call my doctor, who then call in the prescription. I have to drive there, and I'm I can't Uber Eats it. So it's, so
dang.
But it was a lot easier to get the 30 milligram tablets. Now you would think that they would be the same. It's 30 milligrams in 3 tablets versus 1.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I think all other things being equal to be the same.
Yeah.
But I think there's manufacturer differences.
Interesting.
Because I've been on the 30 milligram for probably about a month now. And I'm either I'm getting used to it, right? I'm build up a tolerance, or maybe I'm getting old, or maybe I haven't been getting enough sleep. Now, because of my surgery and my endoscopy a few months ago, both of those, I had multiple days where I couldn't take. When you go under anesthesia, they don't want you taking amphetamines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had a few of the 10 milligrams, 4 or 5 days that I hadn't taken. And I'm So I, 2 days ago, I took 3 10 milligrams, and it was 15-hour stream.
Just
didn't run out of energy, and then every day before and after that, it's 3 or 4 o'clock, and I'm literally falling asleep.
That's super wild. Interesting.
I might have to just call my doc and say, okay,
Yeah.
I gotta go to this Walgreens or CVS.
Yeah.
3 towns over.
Saw a few tweets from some people that I know saying the same thing, calling 20, 30 pharmacies, and I was like, dude, that's rough. That sucks. Brutal.
Yeah, so I've been a sleepy boy, but and I've also been dealing with, dude, the Diablo. Like, it's not just Diablo, but there's a huge portion of it right now where the cool, fun, hip new thing, and I think a lot of it was exacerbated by the whole Baldur's Gate.
Oh yeah.
Was so good, and we don't want to, so like,
yeah.
not that it wasn't, but everybody just loves to, on every game dev, they're all just money grubbing, whatever.
For sure.
They all pushed out things too early. Like the number of people that are like, the game is just half baked and they push it out into beta, and it's like, it's one of the most polished releases.
Yeah, that's happened.
It's had a couple of issues, right?
Yeah.
But like, name me a live service game that hasn't had a handful of issues, and even then they've resolved a million of them. But dude, like, the Steam reviews, or maybe not the Steam reviews, but like the online reviews, are like, it's like 1.8 out of 10.
That's
like,
wild,
dude. You might have problems with the game, but to say it's a 1.8 out of 10, that to me is just even more proof that people are just so rock hard about jumping on the bandwagon.
The hate bandwagon.
We just want to on Blizzard.
Yeah.
And the number of people that have complained, that have said they're just in it for the money, they just want to push microtransactions and blah blah. Bro, I've literally seen in my hundreds of hours of playing since it came out, one pop-up that mentioned their store.
Oh.
Which, by the way, is just cosmetics.
Yeah.
And the cosmetics in the store are like not even good. All the cosmetics you get for free, the thousands of them, are all way better. It's like they don't even advertise it. They don't really push it on you. It's not like Diablo Immortal, which was just a straight up like pay to win.
I heard a ton about. But that is crazy. Because everything I heard from, I feel like, cut to 2 months ago, a month ago, and it was like everybody was making videos like, this is how you launch a game, masterclass in release, best release in the 2020s. And so, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, obviously I don't know what's going on because I don't play, but that is wild to have it turned so quickly. It's just true, man. It's the hate bandwagon,
And the best example of this is I literally had to ban 3 people yesterday, not because they disagreed, but because they were douchebag, toxic assholes along with disagreeing.
Yeah.
But the 3 arguments that I heard in the last 24 hours for why it was a bad game, because that's been the whole YouTube meta. D4 is bad, Diablo 4 is bad, Diablo 4 is dead, whatever. Number 1, the person is like, I quit and I couldn't, it was my last straw, figuring out that there's no party system in the game. There's a party system in the game.
Of course.
So tell me you don't play the game without, like...
Yeah.
Another guy said, I would keep playing, but the game just died for me. Like, all I want to do is play through the main, like, story quest, like, play through the main campaign. That's all I want to be able to do, and I can't. Make a new character. You can. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then someone else was like, I've played these kinds of games for super long and it was always a fan. They always do the whole like, I really liked Diablo 2 and Diablo, but man, this game is such a grind. It's such a grind getting from 70 to 100 and blah, blah, blah. Bro, in a couple of hours, I got from 97 to 99 yesterday, and to get from 97 to 99 in Diablo 2 would take you 6 months if you had a bot running 24/7 for you.
Damn.
And they call this game grindy. It's laughable. And all they've done is make it easier and faster and easier and faster. They double the enemies, which effectively doubles your XP. And then that's after they buffed all of the XP you got.
Yeah.
Like all of the people that are, if I didn't think that I would be the one getting review bombed on YouTube, it would be 90% downvotes, and somehow I'd be shooting myself in the foot by making this video, but I want to so bad, and it's basically like all of your criticisms are dog. There are valid criticisms. I just released a video full of criticisms. It was literally titled "The Real Reason Why They Say Diablo 4 is Bad," and it was a handful of things where I said it all comes down to like this design issue that all of these issues stem from. But nobody's criticisms are that. They're all unreasonable, stupid things. The best example is people show up to Pizza Hut and they're pissed off that it's not Chinese food. Like, it's your fault.
That's, dude. I make that analogy all the time in Tarkov too. And it's like, it's like the people that come in and they're like, wow, like they tell me, they're like, wow, level 30 set, level 35 already. Like, I'm not even going to play this wipe. And it's like, you, what you said was you already weren't going to play this wipe and you just wanted a reason to like announce a complaint. Because it's like, brother, like, what do you mean? Me being level 35 has nothing to do with you not playing. Like, it's, but I can't say that, right? Because then it's like, well, of course, that's easy for you to say. You're a streamer. You do this for a living. You play all day. And it's like, I mean, yeah, you're right. But I'm telling you right now that there's 500,000 people playing the game and the average level is 9. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I'm level 35, but like, you just say you don't want to play the game because that's what it is. It's like, you're just like, I don't want to play this wipe. You could just say that. Like,
no, they need to let everybody know that they believe this thing that everybody else believes.
Yeah.
It's literally the same exact thing happened with another one of, actually, this was number 4 in the last 24 hours. The guy was like, why is D4 so dead? And I pull up the numbers.
God.
There's been 6 million players in the last 30 days. And there was like some, 300,000 active players within the last hour. Like, the game isn't dead. And they were like, yeah, but it's like 17th on like the
Twitch directory, right?
The Twitch directory.
Yep.
And people don't understand. The guy's like, why is it so dead? Why did the game die? And that's their justification was because, and it's like, bro, all it would take would be 2 or 3 of the big names.
Yeah, to just hop on
in the Diablo 4 community, which it would be like Wudijo and like Rax would get on, and both of them are at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 viewers.
Yep.
Or Shroud and or Asmongold could get on, and boom, now you've got 30,000 viewers, and now it's 6th in the charts or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, the whole like a game is dead if it's not high in the Twitch listing is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But it's dude, that's like spreading.
Yeah, and you know what his response was after I explained that? He goes, oh, well, now I know why. It's because of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. That's why it's dead.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, so you had that copy pasted on a notepad?
Yeah.
You were just waiting.
You were just waiting.
Like, give me a break, dude. Like, either that or you went to Reddit and you copy pasted the first 7 titles.
Yeah, whatever the top one was. Yeah.
It's so toxic, dude. It's
That's
just
brutal.
so toxic. It's in self-fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, the game is dead. And that literally like turns people away from like, oh, I guess I better find another game, because if the game's dead, they're going to stop working on it and nothing good is going to come from it. When they're pushing out updates and patches and fixes and everything has been great.
Yep.
Someone came in and was like, dude, is it the beta? Why are you playing a Hammer of the Ancients barb? They nerfed that into the ground. Nobody plays that. As I'm level 80 hitting for 20 million damage, like, what? I'm a god. What are you talking about?
Yep.
You just read that and you've never played the game.
Yes.
I can't get away from the.
Oh yeah, I was about to say there's so many things I'm like we're bringing up in Tarkov tonight that are so similar. Like that's the thing, and that's what I tell people all the time. Like all these issues Tarkov faces, that like it's not Tarkov, man. This is gaming. This is just gaming. This is how people are now. And I actually, there's something later on that that brings up that basically will reconnect to this and like how gaming has changed and stuff like that. But we'll get there later. But yeah, that's interesting. That's rough. That's brutal.
Yeah, but I mean that's mostly it for the Diablo stuff. I'm having fun with it.
That's good.
It would be better if I wasn't falling asleep, and it's not because it's boring.
It's because my meds.
It's because my neurochemistry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
That's
otherwise,
dope.
so it's so absurd.
Yeah.
All of the negativity, but
you know what I'm enjoying? I'm enjoying our first Patreon exclusive episode that got
We just
launched
got
today.
I just got my first hot review too about how epic the episode was.
Yes. So just a little reminder that we last week we launched the PP, the Patreon for the podcast. It's patreon.com/thepodcastpod. We'll have it linked in the description everywhere. But yeah, so we did our very first ever exclusive extra episode. It was like an hour and a half, just talking about. We talked about our dream job. We talked about single player Tarkov. We talked about skepticism and.
I had a little special. Now we said I'm not going to limit story time to the Patreon.
Yeah,
don't worry, I'm still going to have story time.
But one just fell into our lap.
Yeah, this one, and this is honestly one of my favorite, one of the wildest, craziest ones.
Yeah.
That's like a heartwarming.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would recommend checking it out. We already got 50 something patrons.
Yep.
We love and appreciate you guys.
Yep.
For supporting us. It's huge.
So
thank you guys.
That was fun. That's new for us. A little offline podcast episode, but yeah,
it was weird. Was that the first one that we've done where I wasn't live,
well,
or at least
it was the first one in a long time. Yeah, the first few episodes, which I forgot we didn't even freaking have cameras for. The first like 2 episodes was just audio. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just a little general reminder. Thank you guys so much for the support. It's been crazy. If you want more content or if you just want another way to support us and what we do, patreon.com/thepodcastpod. Other than that, man, obviously it's week 1 after the wipe. You know, the wipe was literally Thursday of last week. I think we did the podcast Friday or Saturday. And so it's been cruising. We've been cruising through the patch. It's interesting. It's an interesting wipe. This is like far and away my best start to a wipe. I died like 3 raids in a row right off there. This was I thought this was going to be my worst start to a wipe. This is the first time in like 4 wipes where I died 3 times with the pocket watch on me. Like I had the pocket watch on me and I died.
You fucking
and then I
noob.
did it again. And then I did it again. And I was like, am I washed? Like, do I not know how to play this game anymore?
This guy can't even get the pocket watch.
Bro, I couldn't get the pocket watch. And then I went on a 22 raid streak, which is my personal longest ever. And it wasn't just grinding factory we were literally like woods, customs, shoreline. 22 raid streak. I died. Then I went on a 15 raid streak. And then it just like clicked and we were just cruising.
Hell yeah.
So this is like far and away the best start to a wipe I've ever had. We're crushing it and stuff like that. But it's been interesting, like kind of like what we talked about last week. I've even seen a few people post on Twitter that they're like, this wipe is kind of meh. Like I'm kind of grinding through, but I might hop back onto some other games soon, which was like super expected. Because once again, we talked about last week, it was like this wipe is like quality of life and streets expansion. You know, there wasn't huge fixes, things, you know what I mean? Complete rebalances of anything, no new mechanics. It's some cool scav behavior, some quality of life stuff. So I really knew that was what it was going to be. And so my expectations were fine. I'm chilling. It's so much what I wanted out of this wipe. Truly what I wanted out of this wipe more than anything was just the wipe to go smoothly. And it has relative to these previous wipes. Like last wipe was just atrocious. Invisible player bug. Streets was completely unplayable. Every map had no audio. Like atrocious. So I know a lot of people are like, what do you mean? Tarkov sucks. It's in the worst state it's ever been. You just haven't played the game if you think it's in the worst state it's ever been. So that's kind of what I wanted, was just like a wipe week to go smooth. It did. It's fine. There's some bugs here or there. It's hard to, there's some bugs where like people are getting kicked from scav queues. I've had that a bunch where it's just like you're loading into a scav and then it just says server connection lost and then you just can't reconnect. You have to disconnect, which is unfortunate, but overall pretty smooth. And then I also think that they buffed loot this wipe, like across all maps. The amount of people that have been like, I've found more lead X's than Saluas. Like I still need my Salua quest done and I have 3 lead X's in my stash. I think they kind of like buffed loot all around because it's a shorter wipe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense, right? Like, let people progress through the hideout, let them progress through the quest line. Who cares, right? Like, it always ends up 2 months from now in just like everybody being meta, you know what I mean? Everything. So if this is going to be a shorter wipe, a lot of people are taking it off or skipping it or whatever. It's like, it feels like it. There's been no, actual data mined changes or anything, but it just feels like there's been a little bit of a buff to the loot, which is fine. But so yeah, it's been chilling. We've uncovered a few things though. So last week we talked about that list. We went over the patch notes. We talked about that list of quests that they changed, and it was like a bunch of the like Monko ones. And I think last week, did we talk about Shooterborn in Heaven?
Yep.
How they changed it from 3 headshots at 100 meters to 5 headshots any distance, but with a bolty. And they folded interchange back into the mix. So we have a few interesting ones. One is it's so funny, they just keep flip-flopping. They put 7.62 BP back on the traders, where last wipe they had taken it off the traders for the first time. Maybe it had been off the traders for a while, but you literally couldn't buy BP. You had to craft it, find it in raid. And then at the end of last wipe, they added the Bloodhounds, and that quest was what unlocked BP.
Yeah.
And then now they put it back on proper task called Intimidator, where it's just eliminate 40 scavs with headshots. I think you have to be level 40 to accept the quest. It's just like a late game quest. So stuff like that is so interesting, because it's just so interesting to me that they do that, because there's so many like, meta related things that they could change if they wanted to, like metas that have been around for forever. And then there's other things where they do seemingly continuously change them. Like, you used to be able to buy BP after Punisher, and then there was a wipe where they moved BP later down the quest line, and then last wipe that you couldn't buy BP, and then this wipe they put it back. It's like, it's such a weird thing to just hone in. They're not looking at any of the guns or where they are or any of the this or that, and it's just like they just keep messing with BP. It's weird, man. I don't know.
You gotta wonder, like, what's the impetus behind this?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, you know how many times there's been like a million people, whether it's Reddit posts or content creators or YouTubers, whatever, making videos like saying do this with the ammo or do that with the ammo, and then like nothing happens, and then just randomly they make these decisions that seem to come out of nowhere.
Somebody has a reason for it, but those reasons aren't evident, and they're like, I guess the way to put it is just like, when you think of like the meta and the economy, there's like 100 things that are easy to do that you could change to shift it up, 100 things that are hard to do, and 100 things that are really hard to do. And they keep just like zoning in and plucking one and being like, this is all we're going to do this wipe. We're going to move 7.62 BP. And it's like last wipe, you couldn't buy 7.62 BP from the traders, and mutants and RDs were still like everywhere, right? Like it almost
because PS was really good and BP was not in short.
Exactly.
Supply.
You could still craft it. And then you kill other people with it. You could find it in a raid and stuff like that. So once again, I'm not necessarily complaining that they put it back. At this point, don't really care about like these individual changes, because I know that the meta, quote unquote, or the economy needs sweeping changes. So it's like, at this point, I'm like, you put it back, fine. I love switching it up. I love using all the guns. You take it away, fine. Like, I don't care, whatever. But it's just interesting. They did the same thing with like M80. They moved M80 to level 4. But then this wipe, I think they put 5.6A1 at level 2 Peacekeeper. So like, we had 5.6A1 on like day 2 of the wipe, day 3 of the wipe. And then 5.5A1 is level 3 Peacekeeper, but behind a task. But it's just like one of the shoreline tasks. Well, we had some technical difficulties, but we're back.
Yeah, we very rarely have technical. It's weird.
It is weird. The podcast, like, it's known for being smooth sailing, no technical difficulties ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they put BP back. Whatever. I don't even know what we were talking about. So some of the other quests that got changed were, so many thoughts. We'll just talk. Shooterborn in Heaven now gives 5 sniper skills. So you know the whole game where it's like you need to get to sniper level 7.
Yeah.
So you need to reload to level 3 because once you turn in Tarkov Shooter Part 8, Shooter Born in Heaven, and then you buy the Sniper Skills Mentor as a quest where you just hand in like 50,000 euros and you get 3 snipers. That gets you to Psycho Sniper, and Psycho Snipers get level. So they changed Shooter Born in Heaven to now give you 5 sniper points instead of, I think it gave you 1. So now it's like everyone's like, oh, we don't have to reload anymore. But Psycho Sniper is now you need sniper level 10, not 7 or 8. I don't even remember what it was anymore because it keeps changing. And that's another one of those ones where I'm like, who did that? Who was like, we'll give more sniper points, but we'll require more sniper points. It's like, why? What? I don't understand. But now also
it's got to be the same reasoning as the companies that are like, listen, it's $300 if you want to buy a year's worth of contact lenses, but you get a $150 mail-in rebate. And it's like, you only offer me that because you know I'll forget.
Yes.
Why don't you just make it 150 then, you pieces of
dude?
Because
100%.
they know there's some sort of logic around there that they just hope you never get there or something. I don't know. They're
100%. 100%. I'm trying to remember what it was before. It used to be sniper level 8, I think. So I still think we're in the positive where like Psycho Sniper went from 8 to 10, but Shooter Born in Heaven went from giving us 1 to giving us 5. So like it still ends up working out as like a bet, but it's just, dude, I don't know. It's confusing. But additionally now, Psycho Sniper used to literally just be Psycho Sniper used to literally just be get sniper level 8. Now it's get sniper level 10 and eliminate 5 PMCs while using a bolt action without dying. It's not in one raid. It's just without dying.
Mm-hmm.
So like theoretically you could just like grind it on factory.
Yeah.
So that was weird. But now that also gives 3 sniper levels. Like it's confusing, but that's Psycho Sniper now. You need level 10. Some of the other ones. Oh, okay. So Test Drive. Test Drive was the one where you had to get kills with M1A with the hybrid 46 suppressor and the Reap IR. And remember way back in the day, it used to be 20 kills and people would cant a red dot and just take their thermals to factory and just like...
Yeah, I would take them into factory and I would use laser. Just 3 lasers on my shorty M1. That
was back when you could buy Reap IR straight up, just like cash. And then like remember thermal gates? Remember just like every time everyone died, this was before cheating got bad. Every time anyone died, if you didn't know where that person was, everyone was like thermals. Everyone has thermals. Do you remember that?
It was every content creator. And I think and maybe this is just Veritas being Veritas, right? But I feel like I was the only one who was saying, hey, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Like, what information do you have?
I was saying the same thing,
I just get killed by thermals. It's like, but think about what you would need to know to make the claim.
Yeah, 100%. But Thermal Gate, what happened as a result of Thermal Gate was the Fleers and the Reaps are now barter only, and you can't buy them on the flea market, and they're really expensive barters, right? So now they're hard to get. So then the original Test Drive was kill 20 PMCs. Then Thermal Gate happened. Then they reduced Test Drive to, I think, 5 PMCs because thermals were harder to get. But then that was almost too easy because you only needed 5 kills. Too easy to Nikita. So then what they did was they literally excluded factory from where you could do it and added a distance requirement where they had to be 60 meters away. So over the past like 3 or 4 wipes, it's been M1A, hybrid 46 suppressor, Reap IR, not on factory, 60 meters away. So then the quest got back to being toxic because the 60 meters away thing, sucked because I don't remember the Reap IR's like range, but it like ends at like 150 meters. So you couldn't spot people too far away. And if you spotted them too close and killed them, it didn't count. And it was hard to get this weird middle ground. Well, they changed that quest this wipe to M1A Hybrid 46 suppressor with the Schmittenbender 1-8 scope. No distance. 60 meters away, which is way better in my opinion. This is one of the ones where I'm just like, that's just way better now. Like, you don't have to use the Reap IR. You don't have to do the crazy barter. It's just like, use this gun with a sniper scope and kill people from over 60 meters away. I'm totally fine with that. You can take it to woods. You can actually do proper long range sniping. And last wipe, they fixed the Schmittenbender 1-8 scope. That was one where the 1x sensitivity was like so bad. Last wipe,
Schmittenbender was really nice after they fixed it.
Yeah, last wipe, I used that Schmittenbender 1-8 scope a lot because it was a really good scope. It's like
it was cheaper than the Voodoo, so that's what I was using.
And it was
that in the Vortex
wood scope because you still get a 1x just like the Voodoo and the Vortex, but you get a little bit farther reach when you scope in. So like perfect for woods. So now it's just with an M1A and that scope kill 5 PMCs.
You know why they have the 60 meter requirement, right?
Because they hate us.
Because they either don't want to or can't figure out how to make it so that you kill someone while looking through the 8x magnification.
Yeah,
that's what they want.
Yeah,
they want you to use this, right? Why would they put a scope on it? They didn't want you to use it.
Yeah.
So and in order to avoid people, doing it close range or whatever, right? Like, that's how they come up with the complete nonsense distance requirement, because they're like, we're not going to be able to test the state of whether they shoot and like what happens when they shoot and the bullet's traveling and they're unscoping out. Is the game's not going to know when they die after they can't figure out how to handle a state machine, right? So
I think that I think for that quest, 60 meters is totally fine. I think 50 meters is probably like the sweet spot for, if you want to make me snipe, make 50 meters the requirement. And if you don't, make no distance requirement. Because like, that was what made Shooter Born in Heaven really hard on like customs. There were so many like 98 meter angles. And at that point, what are we talking about? It's just as hard to hit a 98 meter headshot as it is to hit a 100 meter headshot. So lower the threshold to something where like anything beyond that and you're accomplishing the goal. When you set that threshold so high, and I think 60 meters with the Reap IR was really hard. It was the same thing with the hunting trip, which is another one that got changed. I hope that they put it, but hunting trip was the one you had to use the Hubble telescope, the March Tactical, and kill Sturman. Yep. Now,
Neil deGrasse Tyson was the only one that finished that quest last wipe.
Yeah, and that one was hard because like this, they did it again. They did that scope, and then people were just using lasers and running up to them, shooting them close range. So they made it 60 meters, and that made it super toxic. Now that quest is kill Sturman from 75 meters away, but using an M700 and attack 30. So like much easier to accomplish. I don't know why they went from 60 to 75 meters, whatever. It's not that hard to kill Sturman from 75 meters away, right? So I'm not super mad about it. And the TAC 30 is infinitely easier to kill Sturman with than the March Tactical. It's just, there's as much as there's not enough proper like long range sniping opportunities in Tarkov for there to be those scopes. Like if you watch like DayZ, like those guys will hit 1,000-meter snipes like that. It's just the DayZ map is literally just an open barren wasteland, and so having a super long range scope and knowing the drop, but like
and not everybody. The thing with DayZ though too is that like Tarkov, you think about like Shoreline or Customs or whatever, it's literally right when the spawns happen that those shots actually line up. There's no, you don't have the same timing when you have a server that is going to be open for an hour and people are just coming and going wherever.
Exactly. Right? On any given map, you might have 3 good sight lines at over 500 meters. And at any given map, less than 5 minutes into a raid, most of the time, half the PMCs are dead. Because everybody gets into their spawn fight, half the PMCs die. And so it's like, there's not enough angles because the maps are instance and smaller, and there's not enough opportunity because you're right. Like DayZ is much more closer to truly random. You might have somebody going back to the newbie zone to meet their friends. You might have people going to the like high tier zones. People are anywhere all the time for a million different reasons. Tarkov raids are really not dynamic. It's everybody spawns in, everybody goes to the high tier loot spots, and everybody extracts. And I mean, that's it, man. That's just the cycle. So if a long range sniper angle doesn't line up with where people are going to be, it just feels impossible to get those. So I love that there are these 24x scopes, and I would love a reason to use them. But until Tarkov goes, open world, I know copium, or starts stitching some of these maps together and making the raids longer, there's just never going to be a reason to bring anything other than a 1.8, 1.6. You know what I mean? Because it's not. So I'm glad they switched that quest to attack 30, 75 meters, killing Sturman. Totally fine. Tarkov Shooter Part 8, I actually don't know about this. It was on the list. Most of the other quests that got changed are updated on the wiki. I heard Tarkov Shooter Part 8 is now kill... Oh, yeah. Okay. So, Psycho Sniper is kill 5 people with a bolty without dying. That was just like something they added. Tarkov Shooter Part 8 was always kill 3 PMCs with a bolty in one woods raid. Now it's kill 3 PMCs with a headshot without dying. So that was what made that so hard. And there's no map requirement anymore. What made it so hard on woods is you would get 2 and you just couldn't find anyone else. And if you survived that raid, you reset the quest. So now it's the same. It's 3 PMCs, but if you catch 2, you can reset, come back in, and try to pick up your 3rd guy. So that made that made that quest much better. I know normally we're like anything where it says do this without dying is toxic, but
no, but that's way better because
in this
in the
world
same raid,
that's actually less toxic than what it originally was.
It was that and other things were distance related, whether it was within a distance or over a distance, that they make you play like an idiot.
Yes,
because
imagine you're like a sniper.
Imagine you're like rolling up and all of a sudden a dude is 30 meters in front of you. You're like, I'm not going to shoot him. I'm instead going to just wait.
Yes.
And hope. And then he gets, you're waiting for him to get 100 meters, right?
Rangefinder out there.
and at 65 meters, he's behind a tree and you're like, fuck, right? Like,
or you watch him get killed by someone else.
Yeah. And then you're like, go to reposition around the other way and you get killed by another person, or he hears you. Like, they make you play stupid, and that's why they were so annoying.
For sure. For years, my when people say how do any advice for Tarkov Shooter Part 8? What did I do for Tarkov Shooter Part 8? My advice was always like rush a spawn. Like the only way you get 3 PMCs in one raid is when you spawn, you beeline it to the closest spawn to you and try to pick up 1 or 2 kills early, because then you can find other people. If you beeline it from your spawn to a sniper spot, the odds of 3 people crossing your path and you killing them all was so slim. And you're exactly right. That is the exact opposite of what a sniper would do. The quest is, act like, do this super cool sniper thing. It's like you would never just bum rush people with your sniper, but that was the only way to get the quest done. Once again, it's funny, I had never thought about this before, but we brought up the DayZ comparison. I had never really thought about how many of these quests, even though some of the ones we thought were toxic, actually fit in the world where like the Tarkov you and me talk about all the time existed, where it was like open world DayZ style. If people were like, if you could stay in a raid for an hour and a half and you really didn't know where people were being, people were roaming around all the time, killing 3 PMCs in one raid would be doable.
Yeah.
But in the Tarkov we have, the instance, there's only 10 people. They all get into spawn fights. Now there's 5 people. You have to find 3 of them. You know what I mean? So many of those quests, the rub comes down to the difference between what Tarkov wants to be and what Tarkov is. Tarkov is very predictable at when a certain level, of course, there's the unpredictability of like the ballistic system, but Tarkov is very predictable in the sense that like it's just the loot is always in the same spot, the AI is always in the same spot, the extracts are always in the same spot, the PMCs always spawn in the same spot. And that just means you get the same thing over and over again at a high level view. You as a person might get different experiences, but the heat map of everybody spawns in, Everybody gets into spawn fights. Now there's half the amount of people. Then player scavs come in, and then the PMCs extract 20 minutes into the raid. That really prevents some of these like dynamic quests where it's like get a 24x scope and line up a good shot. It's like if I could sit in a raid for an hour and a half and it was like the Cycle Frontier where people are always spawning in, I could do that. But getting that angle when you really only have 10 minutes is a lot harder to do. So
Yeah.
I never really thought about that where you wouldn't even have to change a bunch of the quests. So the ones we think are toxic wouldn't be toxic in that universe where we have hot dog fingers and Tarkov is open world and has a proper spawning system. A lot of it would just work and be fun, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Tarkov Shooter Part 8. And then the stylish one, I don't know if this is just because it's a short wipe or not, but they made the stylish one to get tracksuit 50 kills instead of 100, which was just super interesting.
Still,
I would never, ever, ever, ever do it, even still with 50. But it was just interesting. I was just wondering why.
Unless he had his old spawns.
Yeah, which he doesn't.
I'm assuming he still spawns basically anywhere.
What they did last wipe, which was nice, was they removed every single spawn in the basement, in the car park, the whole underground. He had like 10 spawns down there. And you could literally spawn in, run underneath, and die to Killa within 30 seconds. And the lighting down there was like just atrocious, right? He would spot you from a million miles away, and you would just see muzzle flashes in the distance and die. So now he only spawns on the first or the second floor, but he can spawn in like 15 different places on the first floor and like 15 different places on the second floor. So farming him for tracksuit is really difficult. But that's okay. This goes back to the conversations we have all the time where like, they create conflicts in their own design. Like, I've said this a million times. The Killa quest is bad for the game. Not the ability to gain the tracksuit. But farming Killa is bad for the game. Because making Killa where he can spawn like 100 different places was, in my opinion, an objectively good change. It made the raids more dynamic. You had to be on your toes. You had to be aware. Now his AI still sucks and his AI still ruins it, but
yeah, ignoring all of the other things that make the good decision bad.
Yes,
it was a good decision.
It was a good decision, but it made everybody that farmed tracksuit really angry because now it's infinitely harder to farm him. So like they create these conflicts in their own design. I've been saying this for literal years since I'm pretty sure I was saying this the stylish one came out. A much better quest would be to use either a Killa armor or like a level 5 armor and the green Maska and green Maska helmet. And the quest was eliminate 100 PMCs on interchange. Or 100 or 50 PMCs on interchange.
You would be cosplaying as Killa.
Because not only does that make more sense from the lore of you're saying I'm Killa, so I get the tracksuit, but that quest is now... The quest is still go to the map and engage with the map. Move around the map. Try to find other PMCs. You know what I mean? Like do it with an RPK.
I was gonna say, if it was half and half, if it was like kill Killa 25 times and then kill people, because then if you were in the raid, you would be like, oh, there's Killa, so you would be Killa.
Oh,
like baiting out other people.
That would actually be it would be
half the time you'd be getting baited and the other half the time you'd be the one baiting.
Yeah. If it was like kill Killa 10 times and kill 50 PMCs with a Maska and an RPK, it would be like chaos. You know what I mean? But that would be so much more fun than
Killa v Killa v Killa v
yeah,
Killa v Killa.
Because that would be fun. Basically, like, I mean, if you're just like a Timmy trying to do your quests, maybe that wouldn't be fun. But something along those lines, because nobody enjoys like the Killa farm. Everybody hates that. And everybody who's not on interchange for that hates the Killa farm too. Cause like if I'm doing long line and I'm trying to get my quest done where I have to kill PMCs and half the map runs in, throws 3 flashbangs and doesn't hear a kill, and then they just leave to reset. It's like, it's just so weird. And it's completely counter to the design of the game where you want things to be dynamic and unexpected. So if you put the impetus then on the player to do something but engage with the map, you know what I mean? Kill 150 PMCs with an SVD and you get the Sturman jacket. That's so much better than just kill Sturman 25 times or 50 times because once again, it just feels completely antithetical to the design of the game. So, but
because
what
they don't ever look at anything past the most obvious
yeah.
thing. They look, they look at the pipe in the engine, and it has a hole in it, and they go, "Oh, hole, patch hole," and they put like a little bit of tape over the hole without realizing that the tape's gonna melt the instant it's a hot day and the engine's running hot,
Yeah.
right? Like but they didn't think about what is this gonna be like.
Yeah.
All other things being equal, they just look at the one thing and they're like, "Oh, simple solution
Yeah.
to simple problem."
And that's the thing. I go back to like, well, a lot of people are like, well, they're not, they're working on more important things, and they'll come back to this later. And I would say, but the problem with that statement is they're like, I almost said something. The problem with that statement is, yes,
they're not.
Yeah. The problem with that statement is they are working on more important things, but they're also working on this. Like, if I were them and I was working on more important things and I was like, I don't have time with the Killer Quest, I would just take the Killer Quest out of the game, or don't try to fix it. But they're like, everyone's like, well, they're working on more important things, but they've moved Killer Spawn, they changed his loadout, they changed the quest. Now the quest is only 50. It's like,
why would they change it 17
working
times?
on it, or are they not? If they're working on it, please make it good. If the argument is they're not working on it because they're working on more important things, then that's fine. Either remove it if it's too toxic, or leave it how it is because you're working on more important things. So, and that's how I think about, that's the same thing, the same argument I get into when we talk about ammo. When we're like, they're like, they put BP back on here, and I always go, man, that's crazy because there's so many things in the ammo economy that need to be changed. I wish they would do more. And people are like, well, that's too many things to do. They're just leading it, and they're going to come back and do a pass. And it's like, but they're not leaving it. They're changing things. So they're not leaving it for later, and they're also not doing necessary changes. I don't understand the middle.
They're justifications. They're justifications. The thing is that they're bad at balancing and dealing with the ammo economy, and they're doing quest design. They're the whole "we're working on the other quests, don't worry, it's going to be great" thing is full on copium.
Yeah,
like completely and utterly, they're just bad at it.
So I just, once again, if there's a reason for some of these things, it's not apparent. And once again, and this was a tirade that started with they reduced the amount of killer kills. I do not care that they reduced the amount of killer kills. I don't care if everyone has tracksuit. I don't care if no one has tracksuit. I'm not going for tracksuit, even with 50 killer kills. I'm okay.
It's interesting in and of itself.
Exactly. People always say, like, we get so heated when we talk about this, and people always interpret conversation about interesting findings as complaining. People always interpret it that way, which is fine. I've just come to I've come to accept that. But that was really it. It was just, I saw the change to the stylish one, and it was just interesting because I'm like, man, you could change the quest to actually be really cool. Like, the stylish one could be a really cool quest that also, it serves all the purposes it does now. It gives people something to do late wipe and extremely difficult. It can be something to do late wipe, and it can be extremely difficult, and it could engage with the design and vision of the game. But right now it stands in complete opposition with your design and vision of the game. And so they make this change, and it just makes me go, interesting. You could have changed the quest, or you could have left the quest alone by just kind of middling with the quest. It's just interesting because it makes me question, like, do you understand that this quest stands in complete opposition to the vision of the game? Are you just like, was this just like a Reddit thread of like things that people complained about that was tracked, and they're literally not even maybe that's it. Maybe they're literally not even considering it. They were just like, oh, somebody said that there should be less killer kills. Boom. Maybe that's all the thought that went into it, and I'm thinking about it more than they ever did. It's more that I just find it interesting. Same with they're adding 762 BP back.
You're not.
I don't care.
No, you're being totally reasonable and rational. When people are saying, oh, well, all they did was change a number in a thing, right? They just changed 100 to 50 in like a spreadsheet. They didn't really spend that much time on it, bro. Like, don't worry about it. But you can't ignore the 19 changes, the incremental things they've been doing along the way, that all of them add up to, like, what the f are we doing? At some point, you either need to get good at putting up walls and painting them, right? And not just putting up dank old like wallpaper on top of gross leaky walls, right? Or you take a wrecking ball to the whole thing and you put a prefab up, that looks nice and new, right?
Yeah.
But they're just, it's the worst kind of fixer-upper car. That's what Tarkov is, dude. It's the worst fixer-upper car. They can't, they won't redo the brakes. They just keep like spraying on the brake pads,
WD-40, man.
and like sanding off the rust on the rotors.
Yep.
And they won't go and change the oil, or they won't like replace parts. They'll just change the oil.
Yeah.
Like they're committing time and resources and money. At some point, it's a money sink, and in this metaphor, it's an engineering design sink to do all of the changes that they're doing constantly to keep a running car running, when the whole time they keep saying, oh yeah, well eventually we'll have a new engine.
Yeah. It's like, either go get the new engine, stop tinkering with the one we have. Yeah. It just,
I'm saving up. I'm saving up for it.
Yeah. So that's it. Like I know, I mean, I guess at this point, if you watch the podcast and you complain about how much we complain, I mean, you know what you're getting yourself into. So F you. But it's just interesting because it's always interpreted as complaining. But I just at this point, I've like crossed the threshold of, I just like don't really care anymore. Like, and I just find it interesting. I'm just like, man, like,
yeah, we're not complaining, we're criticizing.
Yeah, it's just like, man, interesting. Like, you wanted to put something in the game, the stylish one. You were like, this would be cool. And the thing is, my guess, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but so I don't want to say I guess that they think this, but what I'm going to say is I hope they don't think this. I hope they don't think we put the stylish one in the game because you guys wanted the tracksuit and we thought it would be a funny meme to do. And now you're like thinking too hard about it and you're shoving all these changes down our throat. I hope they don't think that, because the way I see it is like they wanted to toss something in the game as a meme. And they realized they had a square peg and a round hole. And everybody gave these valid criticisms. And instead of just getting a round peg or just leaving the square peg alone and going to work on other things, for years they just keep, they have scissors and they're sanding the square peg, the corners, they're trying to round it, and then they've tried to jam it in the hole enough times that now the round hole is kind of breaking at the edges. And every time they're like, we're working on more important things. As I see him, in the garage with the sander out, and I'm like, are you working? Because you're working on this, and there are more important things to work on. But they just keep shutting. Now it's halfway in. It's halfway in, and they're like, well, should we? And I'm just like, wait, what are you doing? Are we leaving this alone, or are we gonna just find because I've got a round peg for you. Just make the quest this way and it works. I have the round peg. And that's just so, I just find it so fascinating because I just can't tell what the intention is. And
bro, Dimitri's been working on the round peg for 4.5 years, man. Don't worry, we're ignoring your thing. Don't worry, he's got the round peg, and it's gonna be like a banana shaped, whatever. That's what we're gonna end up with. The
worst case scenario is like, the worst case scenario is they do something that's a real, like, because I'll say this, the stylish one is an awesome concept for a quest. I love the idea of something really, really hard to do end game that gets you nothing but a cosmetic. I think Tarkov needs more of that. We've talked about that many times. It's an awesome thing. So like the worst case scenario, in my opinion, is they do a really cool idea and they implement it poorly. Because very few people have nuance and criticism, all they hear is complaining about the thing. Then they make a change that makes it worse because they don't understand that at the core of the complaining was valid criticism, and they didn't see that valid criticism. So they make a change to it to appease the complaining, but that makes it worse, which makes more complaining. And the worst nightmare is they from their perspective, it just keeps going farther and farther. And like, this is why we don't do nice things for you. This is why we
can't please everyone.
This is why we don't add cool quests. This is why we don't do cool stuff. And it's the worst case scenario because they don't understand the problem with the quest. They feel betrayed by the community because the community's mad about the cool thing they tried to do. And the community is just addicted to hating and complaining that the community's not trying to consider valuable feedback or criticism for the thing even if their complaining is justified a little bit because the quest was done poorly, and then that cycle just continues, and they keep sanding the edges and making it worse, and the community complains and this and that. And in this case, I don't think it's quite that, because I don't think anybody's gonna complain that they reduced it to 50 kills. I don't think anybody's gonna complain about that. But just that's the worst case scenario where it's like, I hope you know that like putting this quest in the game was such a good idea. We just gotta think differently, but we gotta find that round hole. There's a round peg for that round hole. We just gotta go find that. All right.
As usual, they're so close to getting it.
So close, yeah. Yeah.
But this ain't horseshoes or hand grenades.
Yeah, so like that was like
a video about hand grenades.
Weird tirade to go on about the freaking stylish one. I really don't care. I think it's cool. I think there should be more cosmetics like that. I think it's sick that people do it. It's just funny. I don't know.
Bro, I had an epiphany last night.
Okay.
And I don't know if we've talked about this before. It seems so obvious to me that I feel like I must have brought it up before, or someone must have, and then like I've just been out of it so long that I'm coming to the same conclusion. I'm like, oh, this is such a novel idea. But at the end of the stream last night, I pulled up a whole bunch of my old videos, me playing PUBG, and showing some of like the newer community members, especially from like Diablo, who aren't familiar with some of the older stuff. And then I was watching some of the OG, like the first 5 Tarkov videos that I did, and one of the things that instantly became apparent to me was, of course, during like 0.4, 0.5, there was no scav karma.
Yeah.
Now, let me take a step back. One of the things I keep hearing as one of the like more common criticisms of last wipe and also this wipe is how many people are bush Wookiees. Like,
yeah.
Everybody's just camping. Everybody's so scared, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder. I like came up in Tarkov and went from within a couple of weeks, ultimate scared, oh my God, at 300 sensitivity, have no idea what was going on, pissing my pants, to having 56 sets of fort armor, with a full stash of like Giga Chad gear back in the 0.6, 0.7 days. And a huge portion of that was because I had all my PMC raids, most of them I did on Factory, and then I did all my scav runs on Factory too, and I was killing and fighting everything.
Yeah.
So think about how much experience in combat all of the players who are scared are missing out on with scav karma.
Because they used to like practice combat with scavs. Yeah.
Yeah. They spend probably 75% of their time playing the game. They literally do a scav run, open up a Twitch stream, and watch whoever until the next scav timer comes up, and then they do a scav run because they are afraid of, losing whatever gear they bring in, or they just want the free stuff, right? But when but now with scav karma, you go in and they hope you pick up some and you avoid everything, and then you get out.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, it was you scav in, you kill everyone, including scavs.
Yeah.
And so it just makes me almost feel as if, at least as it is now, scav karma, I feel like is doing a massive disservice to the new players, because there's less scav on scav violence. So they're not getting killed by scavs as much.
Yeah.
But they're spending 90% of their time not fighting.
Yeah.
Where I spent 90% of my time fighting. And basically we all did. Which is why, like, the kids these days are different. We were much harder back then, whatever.
Yeah. And I think another thing that changed was the expectation. Like, when you died on a scav raid back in the day, it was fine. You just died. But it's really upsetting to people when they die to scav on scav violence now. Really upsetting. Because the expectation shifted from, the expectation used to be, I go in and everything I see is trying to eat me alive. So I have to protect myself.
Which was a PMC run with random loot.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah, exactly. Same with scavs. It was like, I got to shoot everything. Or you didn't have to shoot. You, like, back in the day, if you saw another player scav, you knew he was going to shoot you, so you're shooting him. You know what I mean? But now the expectation shifted to there's a new system in the game, so the expectation is everybody will abide by it. And so when scav on scav violence happens, it's really deeply upsetting to people because they feel like I was playing by the rules and you weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they got betrayed.
So I think that's part of it too. The other thing is, like, yeah, we never had VoIP back in the pre-Scav Karma days. You never had the ability to like create alliances and be like, yo, let's and just let trust. You know, DayZ is like that, where it's just.
Well, you did. It was harder. You had to have. See, the thing is, you had to have confidence.
Yeah.
Well, but there's a whole science to that, though, right? Because you can roll up on somebody. So often, I used to hear,
yeah,
bro, I walk up and I try to befriend, and then they just kill me right away. And it's because you got like your muzzle pointed and you're like wicked sketchy and right. Yeah. But if the more experience you have, the more you know, you end up like, you don't jump scare them. You like taunt from a distance and you kind of wiggle and show, you know, like
hatchet.
You show you're friendly in a million other ways than just walk up to people and wiggle. It's like, no, by the time they see you walk up, they're going, oh my God, I got to kill them. They're going to shoot me. And they've already decided, you know? So yeah, people just didn't know how to approach it, which made it even harder for players back in the day if they were new. So that's why you just killed everything, because like it wasn't worth it unless you were smoke making content. Yeah. Or you really, really loved the friendliness of Scav. Yeah. Which was in the vast minority of
that is a really interesting perspective, though, the combat thing, where like, you know, if you do 1,000 PMC raids and 500 Scav raids, nowadays those 500 Scav raids are looting, which balloons your wealth, which is fine, but that's 500 less practices in combat, shooting Scavs and shooting other players' Scavs.
They're 5 times longer than they were back in the day.
They are much longer.
So it's you have 500 Scav raids and 200 PMC raids instead of 1,500 combat raids.
Yeah. That's a really interesting perspective. I think like, I'm very pro Scav Karma. Like, I loved the concept of it. I think now that we've had it for a while, I do think like, and I hope that once again, like, I was very about the Scav Karma that we have when it came out. I was like, this is because it was new, it was exciting, and I love the idea of giving people the opportunity to work together. And so I hope like this feedback is, this was a great start. Let's evolve it, because let's look at what was great about what was before. Let's look at what's great now, and let's create a system that maybe is a little bit better. The longer I've played, the more I do believe that there's an evolution to Scav Karma. You and me have talked many times about how sick it would be for PMCs and for Scavs to be able to create a party in raid. Like, I handshake, you handshake, and it creates us as a party. I know in other games you would get the indication you're in the same party with a marker, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. You and I kind of both agree on that, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But it would be interesting because you could do a lot with that, where, like, for example, what if Scav Karma didn't exist unless an in-raid party was formed? If you guys did the handshake and you started a party, and then you betrayed that person, you lost karma. You didn't gain karma unless you created a party with someone and extracted with them. Then it's all an agreement in the raid. The expectation can still be, I don't know, I have to VoIP, I have to make friends, I have to not be hostile, or you could just be aggro and that would be okay. And then also with that, like for PMCs, I think the pro-con meter would be, like right now, if me and Velian go in and I need a shooter born in Heaven's shot, Velian can't run 100 meters for me and let me shoot him in the head, right? But a rando could. It would be interesting of, if you group up, you're treated like teammates now, where kills don't count for quests. So there's pros and cons to grouping up. You might be
and
like,
you could give the PMC Scav Karma potentially too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're because ultimately the Scav Karma is like, it's your account karma for like defense, right? It makes sense that like it's like in other games, you know, Skyrim or whatever, how you have like, you've raised your alliance with the faction.
Yeah.
And maybe it makes some other faction go down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
but this could be, oh my God, did we just solve PMC karma? You know, people freak out about this every day. What if that's how it was? What if you could kill bears or USEX? It's totally fine. Your karma, nothing happens. If you form a party with USEX and betray them, your PMC karma goes down. If you form a party with bears and betray them, your PMC karma goes down. If you form an alliance and work with them, your PMC karma goes up. This is not a perfect idea. This is not a perfect idea. I already see holes in it, but this is what I've been talking about. You know how many people over the past year have been like, oh my God, PMC karma is going to ruin the game. And I'm like, wait, before we say that, what if we just thought of ways it could enhance the game? Because nobody can see past PMC karma is, if I'm a USEC and I kill a USEC, I lose my karma. And to be fair to the players, that's because that's what Nikita said it was going to be 6 years ago. But they haven't talked about it in a long time.
Whatever it's going to be, BSG is going to make it worse than we think.
Yeah, this is definitely true.
Or we're either going to be pleasantly surprised, or it's going to be like, of course, it's this dog shit.
Yeah.
It's one or the other, right? It's not just going to be good.
But stuff like this where the karma system can exist. I'm a fan of game systems that exist that can be ignored. Like, if PMC karma is in the game, what I would want for PMC karma is you could play Tarkov exactly like you play it right now at no detriment to yourself. Or if you choose, you could engage in this part of the game that gets you rewards only through this way. Maybe there's cosmetics that are only via high PMC karma. Maybe there's fence things or like an additional trader level that doesn't sell, that just sells like, you know, whatever, only through PMC karma. That way, if you don't like it, if you don't want to change, you don't have to. That is what I love. And BSG traditionally doesn't normally take that approach. It's just, and the karma, the scav karma is a good example. It's just now, if anybody kills anybody, now you're losing karma. They force this, and especially because the penalty for low karma is like your scav time being longer. What they're basically saying is you're going to scav the way we want you to scav, or you're not going to scav. You're going to scav once every hour instead of once every 7 minutes. And so,
and that also your idea gets rid of a lot of the annoyingness around like a guy shot at me and then I killed him, but then somehow I'm getting. It avoids all of that unless you kill your friend.
That's so true. Because once again, if karma doesn't come into effect until you've partied up, if somebody shoots at you and they miss, you could just shoot back. You don't have to be like, oh, he didn't hit me.
There's no penalty.
He didn't hit me, so if I shoot him, I'm going to lose karma. Once again, and this is, you know what this is? We talk about this all the time. Emergent content, where you let the players dictate. You let the players say, we want to form a party, and then maybe he's got a pilgrim and you really need a pilgrim. You're going to take the karma hit, you betray him, you kill him, you take the pilgrim, and you lose the karma, or maybe you guys squad up, or maybe I want to do it, but it leans more into VoIP, which is a feature already in the game. Now there's more reasons to VoIP. There's whatever. It removes so many of the detractors to scav karma, exactly like you said. He shot at me, or he kills my buddy, but he didn't hit me. He killed my friend, so I defended him, but I lost karma because he didn't kill me or shoot me or whatever. You lose all that, and you let the players decide. And then this template could be applied to PMC karma, where you get special tasks at higher karmas or special cosmetics at higher karmas, but you don't have to engage with it. You could still kill people and you could still play the game exactly like you play now. It's fine. That would be a great way to do PMC karma.
Bro, you know what they need? Kuru.
What's that?
You know what that is?
No.
So in DayZ, if you eat human meat, you get like a sickness that makes you giggle.
Yeah, and go crazy.
Bro, can you imagine? Imagine there was some small bonus you could get from like befriending and then betraying.
Yeah.
And then imagine at random intervals, you might get lucky and it might not happen.
Yeah.
Your character would go like, you know, like the scav giggle.
Yeah.
Imagine then you're like, you know, you're chilling with a buddy and you hear the giggle and you turn, you're like, yo, was that you? What the that you?
Yo,
You're
there's
like,
six
"Whoa, what
of
the
you in a
fuck?"
circle. Which one of you giggled?
Yeah, dude. And then also it makes your aim twitch. Like, and maybe it would make you a little bit shaky, or there'd
Yeah.
be some negative, but then maybe it would unlock, you'd be able to get cultist stuff available from fence,
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like, I hate that we're not game designers, we're just shooting the and every episode we come up
Yeah.
with 100 amazing
And
ideas.
you know what's crazy too?
It makes me so
They
fucking
could
sad.
fold, and it could fold into stuff they've already put into the game. If you have low enough karma and you want to like fence, if you want to be a part of the squad, what he requires is that when you're in PMC raids, you have to take these experimental drugs that Sanitar's making. You know how many Obdobloses they've made that give these weird things? That could be how they tied it. Instead of Kuru, they're saying, hey, our squad, we're all addicted to Obdoblos Q. And so when you're in a raid, you have to, if you want to keep it, or he kicks you out of the low karma squad, and that drug makes you like taunt randomly, or your aim a little shaky, and it adds this engagement, and it already folds it into like existing mechanics. Ah!
Yeah, and one last thing I want to say on this is that I want to make it clear, I wasn't trying to say that like scav karma's bad,
No.
or that they should remove, but it was mostly just, that's an unintended,
Yes.
I'm theory crafting that's an unintended consequence that might explain what we see, right? It's just a theory.
Yeah, and it's a perspective I had never thought about before. Seriously, as somebody who came up under you guys and used scav raids a lot when I started as combat practice and killing other scavs, I'd never considered that before. I never thought about that. Well, if you have Kuru and you're giggling and you need some help, I want to thank the second sponsor of tonight's episode, and that is BetterHelp. I couldn't figure out how.
God, if you're a cannibal, then maybe you should seek online digital mental health counseling.
But this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online platform where you can get all sorts of help and therapy that you need. Veritas and I both have personal experiences with them. Therapy is one of the most important things that has happened in my life personally, and BetterHelp is a really it's a way to bring this into the new age, into the online age. It really is an awesome platform because you get to find somebody super quickly. If you don't vibe with them, instead of calling and canceling appointments and calling other offices and scheduling, it makes it super easy to find somebody that you jive with, find somebody that you're comfortable with. There's additional communication methods. You can put in a note section things you don't want to forget to talk about, and then once your session starts, you both have access to that. There's just a lot of really cool things that make this incredibly accessible, easy to use, and flexible. And I think for a topic as sensitive as this, those things are important. So
yeah,
yeah,
for sure. And like, there's also a million things that you can seek therapy or other mental health counseling services for, more than just the stereotypical depression, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It could be anything from, maybe you are dealing with depression, maybe you're having trouble with your coworkers, maybe you need couples counseling.
Yep.
Some people even might need or think that they want counseling for, maybe they have a child, right?
Yep.
That maybe they want to speak to somebody, right? Like, there's so many ways to like look at this that can apply to you and or your loved ones in ways that are super relevant. And yeah, I mean, I've said before, I can't speak enough to how 4 months ago I was miserable, was honestly like the lowest of the low. It might have been one of the lowest, if not the lowest period of my entire life. Like legitimately. And it's kind of what has kept me going, honestly.
For sure.
And at the same time, my therapist has been on vacation for like a month, and it's been like, to be able to then now not talk to her for a month and be like, this has been a good month.
Yeah.
I'm like looking forward to her coming back in a couple weeks and being like, yo, things are going well.
Things are going well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. It really is how impactful it can be for your life. I mean, even if you just don't have somebody to talk to. I've been in that parts of my life where like I just moved away and I didn't have friends in my life that I would meet up with on a weekly basis. I just kind of I was working a lot and just parenting, and it's just hard to find time. And you just realize that you're just kind of spiraling in your own thoughts. Like even that, just having another human being to talk to bounce ideas off, it just is tremendous how impactful that can be for your life.
You know how freeing it is to be able to, you get to a point, maybe not on the first, 1 or 2 visits,
Yeah.
right? But like to be able to get to the point where you can say what you're feeling and what you're thinking, things that you would never tell or say to
Yes.
anybody else. Not because like you killed somebody and you've got human meat in your fridge, right? Like we're not talking Kuru level, but just to be like someone said this to me and I felt this about them and I feel bad about that. Should I feel bad? And they're like, yeah, well, maybe that's not fair that you felt that way. You know what? But to be able to say that and not feel judged and not have to it's incredible.
Yep.
So
absolutely. So it's awesome. We love BetterHelp, and we are glad to be partnered with them. So you can visit betterhelp.com/pogcast today and get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/pogcast. You get 10% off your first month. Thank you so much for sponsoring this episode, BetterHelp.
Human meat.
Human Kakuru.
I just had some Sarku Japan. I'm fairly certain that's some human meat.
Yo, Sarku Japan is so good, bro.
That's what I had last time before the Patreon episode, bro.
Oh, and
when I almost died, and that happened again to me tonight.
Yikes!
Again, I literally was like, oh, this chicken's so good. Blah, start chewing. I swallowed. I'm like,
I'm gonna die.
And the first thing I did, take a big gulp of Gatorade, and literally I felt the Gatorade go, brrr, and it just was like a graduated cylinder full of just like, and to be able to feel, I could feel the chicken in place, and I could feel the Gatorade going like, going. And my wife comes, she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, and I had to be like, nothing, because otherwise she'd be like, she's like, "No chicken, let me cut it up and let me puree it for you."
Don't take away my Sarku Japan.
Don't you blend my chicken.
When I first started working,
although
it
looks blended though. Have you seen it before?
When I first started working for Apple, I was so poor, dude. And I couldn't bring lunch, and it was Apple Store in a mall, and I would literally just on my hour-long lunch make 10 rounds in the food court of the mall, taking samples from all the Chinese restaurants, and that was my lunch, bro.
Bro, that's the kind of that you hear in like the 50 cent, like, now I'm a billionaire now, right? Bro. But like back in the day, I used to just give free samples. We've probably talked about this 7 times, but I need to ask again. Have we talked about like the Cold War that existed between Chinese food restaurants for like a period of time? I had this thing in my local mall where it was literally, there was like prices, 3 or 4.
Yes.
The prices were down to the point where like, I'll give you $5 and orange chicken. Just
come by.
Dude, and it was weird because it was like, I think maybe there were just like 4 out of like 9 like whatever restaurants in the food court. It was like 4 of them were like the cheap, you pay $5 for whatever you want, pick 4 entrees or whatever. And I think that like, because there was 4 or 5 of them, and they were all like, what the like, they had to compete. And I think eventually enough of them went out of business. Now there's only 1 or maybe 2.
Dude, he won, man. He won.
This town ain't big enough for all of us.
He's like $800,000 in debt because he was giving away food for a year, but he's the only one left in the mall.
Holy shit. Wait, speaking of, I want to mention these 2 things. Slightly off topic. I think there's a couple things you still wanted to talk about with Tarkov. But real quick, I've been enjoying like binging 2 different pieces of content. Did you ever watch what's his name? Xiaomi? I'm sure you've probably, no, not Xiaomi. Xiaomi is like, that's like Samsung but Chinese. Xiao language.
What type of content? The guy who speaks a bunch of languages is what Seal said?
Yes. What's his name?
I don't know.
Oh, it's Xiaoma NYC. So XIAOMA. That's I think it's Xiaoma. NYC. Dude, he speaks like every language on planet Earth, and he learns languages like in like 2 or 3 weeks, and he learns some of the most obscure dialects of like, so his wife is Chinese. He spent like 10 years or whatever like living in Beijing. So the shtick that got him, a million bajillion subscribers on YouTube was he would go in to Chinese food restaurants like in the Bronx, and he would be like, oh, what do you have? And he'd kind of be a little bit of an awkward, just white dude, right? And then he'd be like, oh, and they'd be like,
what the?
You speak like Fushuanese or whatever, like this crazy
dialect of Mandarin or whatever
that 600 people speak, right? And they're like, what the? And then he'll like change to Mandarin, and then someone else will walk by and he'll speak Yiddish to like the Jewish guys walking down the road, and then like he'll go to Kenya and he'll be speaking all these different languages. Dude, it's amazing.
Crazy.
It's wholesome and also like impressive.
Oh,
but he learns like dozens and dozens and dozens of languages, and he goes and he speaks it, and his accents are like, the people are like, yo, you're Kenyan, and he's just this like geeky looking white guy.
Wild.
Dude, it's so good. You should watch him. All of his stuff is good.
Holy cow.
And the editing is good. It's like kind of brainless, like feel good content.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's really, really good. Like,
wild.
yes, Somali, Thai, a million different versions of like Mandarin. Yeah, super good.
Dang.
So that's one guy that I'm a fan of, and another one is, I don't even know what they're called. It's like native people react. I'm just gonna search for that. No. Oh, okay, wait. Okay, so the channel that I've been watching a bunch of stuff on is called, I'm gonna put the link in chat, Common Man Show.
Okay.
But there are these like 3 or 4 dudes from, I think they're like Indian villagers that like, they're not like Aboriginal, they've never seen electricity.
Yeah.
But they're like, pretty removed from modern society and science and whatever. And they just show them like Melody Sheep's video, like history of the entire, and their people are like, they would ask them like, how big is the universe? And they're like, oh, I don't know. The Earth seems like it's probably at least 100 or so miles. And that's the whole universe. One of the ones I just watched, and the old guy is the best. The old guy is the best.
That's crazy.
The most. One of the things they did was they put VR. They were like, what if we could take you anywhere in the world and you'd be able to, and he was like, yeah, very funny, right? Like, yeah, you're like a god, And then they show him the headset, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna do it. They're like, what do you mean? And they put it on, and the whole time he's like weeping, like, oh, like, thank you so much. He literally thanks them, crying, like, you just gave me an experience I'll never have. It's so wholesome.
That is crazy.
And you blow their minds, like, what's at the bottom of the ocean? Like, what's on the moon? Like, all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
It's super, super, super good.
Oh my god.
At first I thought it was like a little fake, but there's no way that it's fake with
just like
with some of the reactions.
Blowing people's minds.
Dude.
Widening their perspective of everything.
Yeah, and it's like, it's the secret thing that, I mean, maybe I'm the only person that wants to do this, but like, I totally envision, or I imagine how amazing it would be to either go to like the Aboriginal tribe, right, that has never seen any technology before, living off the land and making fire by hand and whatever, and then like pulling out a iPhone, or whatever, right? Or being able to go back in time.
Yeah.
Imagine just if you could like thought experiment, go back in time to 1,000, BC, and be like, yo, here's a car. You know what I mean? Like, how this is like as close as you can get to that.
Yeah.
That's not unethical.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's like the closest we can get to going back in time is like finding these people and then like just blowing their minds.
But yeah, the one I just watched last night, they took the 3 of them on a plane, and
Oh
it's
shoot.
so funny. They all got sick, but they're like, "Can we open the window?" You know, like
Yeah.
but at the
There's
same
no
time,
concept.
they're like, "Why are we going backwards?" They're like, "This whole thing goes backwards," while they're just like taxiing out. I'm like, oh god, it goes backwards, and then like, dude, it's so
That's
amazing
great. That's
because
so
it
great.
was like a 10-hour car ride to like Delhi or wherever the they were going
Yeah.
back to, and they're like, "No, it's actually going to be an hour because we're flying." And they're like,
They're like,
"Oh, thank you, oh my god, thank you." But it wasn't too long before they were like, "Yo, I'm scared." They're just like,
looking out over the clouds, just like, this is it. That's so sick.
that's one of the things they were saying was like, "Oh my god, like there was a little bit of turbulence," and they're like, "I guess there's like some dangerous clouds, like we don't want to hit them." Like I think they thought they were like mountains or something.
Oh my.
And even just when they took off, seeing their city from the sky, they were like,
oh yeah. I mean, think about
like they
how
had no idea the
radical,
scale of
yeah,
everything.
that perspective would be as an adult. So many of us fly when we're kids, you know what I mean? And we're just like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm excited to see that. I want to sit in the window seat. But like, imagine being 62 years old, thinking the earth is 100 miles wide and flying over and being able to look at every place you've ever been in your entire life you could hide with your thumb.
Yep.
Like, that's crazy.
Dude, and the last thing I'll say, the funniest part was there was like a 5-minute thing where they were debating. They had bottles of water, right? And they were like, "Yo, can we take the empty bottles of water?" And the guy was like, "Dude, when we were going through security, they patted us down. He had like 1 coin. He's like, they took my coin. I couldn't take it with me. All this stuff. It's like, you think they're gonna let us walk out of here with a bunch of bottles of water? Like, obviously not, dude. Like,
Oh
security is like, it was the most hilarious
oh my
thing.
god.
Oh, and then you see them walking out, and they've each got like 2 or 3 bottles. Oh, dude, it's
That's so great.
amazing.
That's why I want to go to space in my lifetime, because I want that experience. I want that experience of like,
You know what you're in for, and you still know it would be
Yeah.
life altering.
yeah, 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's dope.
Anyway, so it's been a while since we shared any of the
Yeah, some content.
that-
And I have been watching nothing. I need something to watch. So, but yeah, there were a few other just like Tarkov related things. So I guess we'll talk about this first, because it kind of is the one that goes back to what we were talking about. So it's interesting. So the SVT and the AVT are the two of the new guns, and the SVT is a semi-automatic Mosin. You know what I mean? Like, it shoots 760 by 54R, and the AVT is a fully automatic SVT. So
it has to have like the most ridiculous recoil, right?
So that's what's crazy. So I don't know how true this is, like with the actual numbers, but I can say that I feel this to be true, if that makes sense. I heard that the SVT, which is the semi-auto one, just the wooden stock base, you can't do anything to it other than put the PU, like the Mosin scope. You can put the PU scope on. That is it. I've heard that the stock SVT has better stats than like a 250,000 ruble modded SVD, which is the only other semi-automatic Mosin we have in the game. The SVD is like expensive, very expensive to mod, and has terrible ergo. And the SVT, just like stock wooden perspective, I saw perspective in the chat, I said it, stock wood, everything is like better. It's got way better ergo, and it took me 1 mag, and I was like, oh, I have the rhythm of this down. And I was in the firing range, I was like, bang, 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 all headshots that quickly. The rhythm, it returns to center so straight, and the rhythm is so predictable of the shots. You can just
do that conga. Every time you said rhythm, do that conga. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's just like crazy good. It's crazy good. It feels better than when I'm doing Punisher Part 6 with a 500,000 ruble SVD.
So does it feel like an SKS?
Yeah, that shoots Mosin ammo.
It sounds busted.
Yes.
Sounds like I would love that.
And
although I do want to say that the whole like it has better stats. It's been a while since I've done any testing,
Yeah.
or whatever, but I still am convinced that like it's meaningless.
Well,
Like X ergo on one gun, I don't think
Yeah.
translates to X ergo on another gun.
I agree, but I'm saying that it even feels that way. Like when you pick up one,
Yeah,
you're like,
I'll take the feeling over the stats.
Yeah.
If someone says, bro, it has 73 vertical recoil, I have no idea what that means.
And especially on a gun like an SVD, where you're like, what does that even mean, right? But it feels better. It feels so easy to control, and it definitely has better ergo than an SVD, and it's crazy, dude. And then the AVT is just that, but like you can click it to full auto and dump it. Now the recoil full auto is crazy. It's bad, but
I would imagine it's like super fast jitter clicking in SVD. It's like,
yeah, but it doesn't really matter, right? Because if you're close range and you're shooting that thing, it's like you only have to hit them twice.
Can you put lasers on it? Because then you just point fire.
No, but that would be nuts. And so here are some things. Here are some interesting factoids. So like what we're talking about is those guns. I spawned as a player scav with so there's 10 round mags and 15 round mags. I spawned as a player scav with the AVT, the full auto one, with 5 15 round mags. And it's just like, that is so toxic. And the guns are like the SVT, which is the one that everyone's going to use, is available at level 2 proper, and it's not that expensive. And at that point,
it's Mosin Man all over again.
Yes, and at that point, it just doesn't really matter like what ammo you use. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, well, there's not good ammo. Dude, that ammo is so big that even the bad ammos are good ammos, right? They hit so hard.
Yeah, what's the alternative? Is you use a PP19 with PST
or an 8R with 855. Like we're talking about a chonker of a caliber. So I have so I say that because so many people have been like, what are your thoughts on the SVT? Because I am required to now have like a fully stated, dissertation level opinion on it, because the tribes are forming. The tribes are forming of you're just, a lot of people are super mad at it and they want validation that it's like this thing is broken and stupid, that it's so accessible and so good. And then the other people are like, now Timmies have something, they have something to use against the Chads, and it's a good thing, and like get ratted, get cucked, like get better if you're mad.
They'll have something to use against the Chads. You've had something to use against the Chads since 1994 when the Mosin came out.
That's my thing, is like, once again, I don't really care. I mean, I care when I die to a player scav with a fully automatic Mosin for sure, but I just I don't care enough to formulate this crazy opinion. But I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about on the podcast, because this is just one of those things where, like, if you're in camp, get cucked, like now the Timmies have something to use, you're not going to hear anything I have to say anyway. You like most of those people have just like, you're a streamer, you do this for a living, and therefore your opinion isn't valid. But we had this conversation earlier in chat because somebody was like, no, it's a good thing because now the lower level players have something to use. And I was like, dude, you have the Mosin, you have the RF.
Where have you been?
You have the RFB. You have the Vepr Hunter. You have the KS-23. Scavs spawn with all of those weapons. Scav spawn with KS-23. Scav spawns with Vepr Hunters.
You put the fully auto version in the hands of a new player, it's more of a liability than an SKS. They probably do better with an SKS because they wouldn't, like, it's not.
So this concept of like, now the Timmies have something to kill people with, I just don't subscribe to at all, because the Timmies have had stuff to kill Chads with for forever. Secondly, you've always been able to kill a Giga Chad with just about anything. You know what I mean?
Every era has had its. You used to be able to kill when there was no face hitbox, and you had a TT, and they were running Kiver Fort, which was the best in the game. Yeah. You'd shoot them in the leg until it was blacked out, and then the next bullet would kill them in the leg.
Yeah, they would.
There's always been a way.
Yeah.
To do it.
And I would argue that the last wipe, like the most recent wipe we had, was the easiest wipe for Timmy's as far as the killability of Chads. I'm not saying like you could definitely make an argument that now so many people are good at the game, it's really hard to get into the game because there are just so many people playing and so many people have been playing for a long time. You could make that argument. But what I'm saying is the killability of Chads last wipe was at an all-time high because they took Altons and Risties off the flea market and off the traders. That was really the last bastion of, with an Alton or a Ristie, you really can't hit him in the face. You have to go leg meta now. And the community has recently just decided that the fast MT face shields aren't worth it. So nobody runs them because they're level 3 armor, the fast MTs, and very many guns that you can just spawn in with as a scav have like 28 pen, you know, which would have like a 90% chance to pen a class 3 visor. So last wipe, the amount of people I saw with no face shield on, I mean, people with Zabralo's the best stuff in the game, but just a U-lock. You could die to a TT to the face with a well-placed shot. And as a scav, I killed a bunch of Chads with super awful guns. So the killability of Chads was at an all-time high. And I'm not giga molding about like the fact that it's in the game. I just think it brings up it always ends up in interesting conversations around things like, what is the point of gear progression if every time there's new gear to progress to, there's new gear that requires no progression that just ignores the gear that you progress towards? Like, I know that if you're a Timmy right now, you think that way, but when you get better at the game and have better stuff that you feel like you earned, and there's a new Timmy that just one-shots you and you feel like that gear you earned didn't do anything for you, and it kind of
you're gonna be
mad. And it goes back to what the reason this made me think of it is it made me just think back to what you were talking about in the Diablo stuff, where you were saying, where people were like, the game is so grindy, and Diablo 2 was 50 times as grindy, and the grindiness was part of what made Diablo 2 Diablo 2. Like, it's not even just that it used to be a different way. It's that what it used to be was part of what created the fame. And I think Tarkov is going through a little bit of that. And once again, I can only talk about this on the podcast. I can't talk about this live because I know how this sounds. Oh, shut up, man. You're just a streamer. You play all day, you're good, and you want to stomp on new people. I know that's how it will be interpreted. There will be comments on this podcast saying that exact same thing. But it makes me wonder if Tarkov is going through a little bit of that identity crisis, where what made Tarkov cool and what made Tarkov famous was just the insane, how hard it was to get into, how hard it was to do something. And now the expectation and the demand is, well, if I play 1.5 raids a week, I require a gun that can kill anyone in the game in one shot, because if I don't have that gun, it's not fair to me.
Yep.
And it goes back to the you walked into Pizza Hut and you were mad it's not Chinese food. I don't want to just curb stomp you all day as a Giga Chad. I would rather play with people who understand what the game is and want to play this game, whether they play an hour a week or 100 hours a week. And if you don't want this game, that's okay. And I know how that's going to come across, but that's what we had this conversation, the SVT. What are your thoughts? And it ends up devolving back into that, because it always goes back and forth. Oh, well, I think they're too cheap. I would be fine if the AVT was just like a random old, like, because it's an old gun, right? Like if you just found this random old gun in a weapon crate, but it's not. You can buy them really early and you can buy them pretty cheap. So it's like, well, then the Timmy should have this. Well, it's like, well, this or this. But what about gear progression with this? And the path always leads back to that, which is like, what is Tarkov, and are you playing the right game? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Tarkov is basketball.
Tarkov is basketball. But does that make sense? Like that identity
exactly.
crisis of just, it feels in the same way that people criticize this Diablo, which is 10 times less grindy than Diablo 2 for being too grindy. I feel like we get that. I feel like the reason Tarkov blew up is because it was hard, because it was different, because it was visceral, and because it was extremely hard to push past the learning curve. And now it's easier than it's ever been and being criticized for being too hard. And that just makes me go crazy because you're technically not wrong if your opinion is like this game is too hard. If your opinion is I only play this game 2 hours a week, it's too hard, I can't progress, you're right.
Yeah, period.
The resolution you want is that the game to be changed. You're right in that. It is a hard game and you can't really progress with 2 hours a week.
The problem is that you're not playing
that they made.
Just say what you're thinking. The problem is that you're not playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure 2 and you're playing Tarkov. And no, I'm half kidding.
Yeah, I'm half kidding. But so I don't, and it's hard because I love that people are playing this game and I love that they're newer players and I am okay with some of these guns. I love that at any point. As a Chad, what I don't want is the pendulum to go the other way where we get a really traditional route where if I'm level 60 and you're level 10, I am unkillable. I love and want to preserve that core tenet of Tarkov, which is that anyone can kill you at any time if you are careless enough or if they hit a good enough shot. I want to preserve that, but it's just sometimes we're not talking about preserving that thing that could happen. Sometimes we end up talking about like everyone should always be able to kill everyone else with one click. But then every time you die to one click, it's because there are cheaters or because there are Chads or because there are thermals or Mosins or it's like there's always a reason, or Bush Wookiees now. You know what I mean? I just don't know how far the logical train has been taken by a lot of the people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because what's gonna happen, and what I'm already seeing is clips of people just running TV rigs and SVTs on labs. Because if they're the Chads and they don't feel like the gear is worth grinding for, they're gonna start using the gear that is worth it, which is cheap and unbelievably effective. And then a few things are gonna happen. Most of the time, you're still gonna die because a guy with 10,000 hours is just gonna beat you. And when you kill that guy, he won't have anything good. He'll have the same kit you have. And it won't feel good to have killed him. And that's where it ends up. You know what I mean?
I know, unless what feels good for them is they get to farm the LEDXs and the stims. And
yeah,
because there's enough. See, like back in the day, there wasn't enough on the maps that was valuable. Well, you didn't need money.
Yes.
Back in my day, you didn't need money, bro.
Yeah.
In one of the videos, I literally showed you the richest you've ever seen in Escape from Tarkov, and I had 138,000 rubles.
Yeah.
Because that's all I needed. Because I had 57 fort armors. Literally, my entire stash down the middle was fast MTs with
mandibles and quad nods.
And then I had 2 money cases full of Bitcoin, and then just the normal item cases, because that's all there were.
Yeah.
4x4 item cases from top to bottom, full of fort. You know, 60 out of 80 fort, 80 out of 80 fort, 78 out of.
And I'm telling you, if you hear that and you think that's poor, man, back then, literally, if you had 5 million rubles, you were like king of the world back then.
I was king of the world and I had 180 because there was nothing to buy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know people are like old men thinking about the good old days. And once again, I don't even necessarily.
No, but I say that I say that point because these people get the value from everything that isn't combat.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're gonna say, bro, if I kill the guy and he's wearing rat gear, the newbie garbage stuff, it don't matter.
That's true.
Because I get to farm all the items to get more money. It's like
you're right.
But you're not like I contest that if they there's a real possibility that they would find more enjoyment in the game if they unlock all this cool stuff, got to do all this cool customization and mod their guns and think about the ammo and use armor. And if those things actually provided value to them, then the progression would be fun. But instead, it's how many rubles can I get?
That is true.
That's what the game is come to.
That is true. Yeah, I hadn't
And
know. That's a good perspective.
And the game. So my point was the game was better when, in and of itself,
Yeah.
the gameplay was rewarding because you killed people, and when you killed people, they had that you would use. It wasn't about the sale value,
Yeah.
which is why the people in Diablo are upset, because they're like, bro, the grind to 100 is the worst thing ever. They need to make it so much easier, while at the same time, the same people a week later are saying, bro, I got to 100, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
So then why did you rush there? You should have played to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
instead, it's they're playing to get more money. They're playing to get more money. They're playing to get more money. For what?
Yeah.
To buy the gear you're not going to use? Now, if that's what you enjoy about the game, fine. That's totally fine. Some people might like Diablo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For different reasons. But don't make the game about that for everybody. It's not about that for everybody. They didn't make it about that when they designed it.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're right. You basically took the conversation I started it and threaded it back to a separate conversation I have all the time with myself and with my community, which is that, yeah, like I wish the things you found in Raid were of use and not of value. And that's why I loot the way I do. It's why I have my stash set up the way I have, and it always triggers a lot of people. And I was really hoping they were going to do another event. In previous wipes, they did a pre-wipe event where all the traders were locked off and nobody could use traders. And that gave people a small taste of it, where they're like, I don't have any freaking pistol grips. And they find a pistol grip in Raid and they're like, sick, I have all these guns, but I sold all the pistol grips because I usually could just buy them. And now this thing that they found that's a worthless thing has so much value to them. And I always loved the thought of that, just the economy more being centered around use and not just the sale value on the flea. Interesting. And once again, it's just like, it's the reason I ultimately don't really care about the SVT and the AVT is because it's not now the only gun you can kill me with. It's because I've been dealing with KS-23s and Vepr Hunters and rip rounds out of a Vector and Mosins and SVDs and
the reason why you punish
all
yourself,
the other things you can one-tap me with. Like,
the reason why you punish yourself through all of the AIDS quests and all the is because you get enjoyment out of unlocking stuff and being able to use the gear that becomes available to you as you progress. And that is no longer fun when the gear doesn't give you anything in return.
Yeah. So interesting. Just interesting. Yeah. Have you seen, so this is actually off topic. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I feel like we've just coming off of this conversation. Have you seen the whole like escape from Deer Isle Daisy server?
Nope.
They literally just like ripped every single asset out of Tarkov and shoved it into Daisy. It is like, it's the most like
literally ripped it, like
scuffed thing. Freaking all the images are the same. A lot of the images are the same. And Daisy is already a scuffed player controller, but it's, in my opinion, a proof of concept of like the Tarkov we've always wanted. There are quests. There's literally like labs key cards. There's loot and there's value and there's traders and there's safe zones, and you can build structures in this open world. And I don't really want to play it, but when I watch people play it, it gives me the vibes. It's like, I'm like, it you know how, I've been saying this for a while. Tarkov can't necessarily hard pivot into that. I don't think Tarkov is becoming that, which is fine. And I think Tarkov can't quickly pivot into anything, right? Like they're getting their thing out. You know how like Fortnite was not a battle royale? Like, did you ever play Fortnite Save the World? Like Fortnite was basically tower defense game. You would build your base and then the hordes would come. And last minute they were like, well, let's do a battle royale mode. Like it's not going to be hard to do. We'll make this open map. And then Fortnite became Fortnite. I'm pretty sure they discontinued the original game. You know how we've talked before about how like Scum and Deadside and like all these other games that are trying to be DayZ that never topple DayZ? I want one of them to hard pivot into what open world Tarkov should be. Like hard pivot, Scum should just hard pivot and say Escape from Deer Isle kind of is fun, but it shouldn't be. And they're literally just ripping icons and assets from Tarkov and shoving it in. What if we actually thought about what this would look like? An open world, you know, you go in and there is no economy. It's all just stuff. It's stuff that you can find. It's stuff that you can craft. It's stuff that you can do. You kill a guy and you take his stuff. And it's like, that's the value, is the thing and the loot and the engagement and the stuff. And I want that so bad.
What would they, here's the thing though, what would they need to change in their game to make it more Tarkov-like? Because like what sets Tarkov, what the difference between Tarkov and DayZ is the very thing that is different between them. God, that was such a tautology. The moment that you make Tarkov open world and then there's no more raids, then is there like really a dash and like progress? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to.
Yeah. The cycle frontier is very different than DayZ, right? It was. And the cycle is what I want.
Okay. Well, so it would take,
you know, the reverse of that is true. All the times we fantasize about open world Tarkov, if that was true, you could say, well, then that's just DayZ or Scum. And I wouldn't think either of us would say that. There is a lot more to Tarkov, the concept of a hideout or a stash. And I'm saying that what makes it easier is if a game like Scum or
I'm fucking
Deadside. No. I'm saying if one of those games does it, they're not beholden. Like if Tarkov tried to pivot, everybody goes, well, what about this? What about that? What about the flea market? What about the stash? What about this? Because it's so hard to pivot to change that train. But if you're Scum, you can be like, what's just the best version of this? Do we have an offline stash or do we not? Do we have bases and safe zones or do we not? Like, you get to just have those conversations because you're not Tarkov. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess I if I knew more about Scum.
Yeah. I mean, literally just think of basically Scum is just DayZ with better graphics that never really took off.
I've literally watched a long time homie who I haven't seen in a bit. Hope he's doing okay. There's no chance he's listening, but Oddboss, I love you. Oddboss, I watched him play Scum once.
Yeah.
And all he did was kill people and skin them and would make he made I don't even know how to describe it, like stick figures on the ground of the flesh chunks.
Yeah.
And that was just like what he and I was like, yo, this is amazing.
That's amazing. What I would want to see, and here's the differentiator I think you're looking for. DayZ is a big giant map that you're just on forever, right? It's like there's a server queue, right? Because if there's 500 people and the server queue is 500, you're just 500 people deep. And Tarkov is small maps, instance-based, and when everybody leaves, the raid is over.
So that's what I was saying real quick. It's easier for, like, I feel like DayZ has, like, everything that Tarkov has for the most part, but Tarkov doesn't have all the things that DayZ has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, a DayZ becoming a Tarkov, it's like, you'd be like removing features, like almost. No, but I know. Not really.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why what I'm saying is I want one of these games that I think there are like 10 games that have come along that have said we're going to be the better DayZ and we're going to topple DayZ. None of them work. They're 90%
of the way. Yeah, they're 95% of the way to making a Tarkov.
Yeah. They're so close to making a better Tarkov and toppling a game that's Tarkov, and they're never going to topple DayZ. I don't know why.
I'm with you. Full circle with you.
Yeah, I don't know why they're never going to topple DayZ, but they just won't. DayZ has just established itself as that game. DayZ 2 is going to be the only thing that topples DayZ. But if Scum was like, let's pivot, let's take our giant map, and instead of making it servers where there's a queue, we're going to make it an instance that lasts 6 hours, like the cycle. So people can leave and they can come in, and you take that map and then you go, okay, you add some sort of hideout and some sort of offline stash, you add dead drops, and you can just build the economy from the ground up as a survival game economy where stuff is just hella rare and value comes from utility, not monetary value. That's how those games operate, right? Like DayZ, when you find when you find 9 mil ammo, that's huge, not because of what it's worth to the trader, but because you have 45 ammo and a 9 mil Glock and you can't shoot anyone, right? Yeah. So like, what does Scum or Deadside with a map that big, with a server structure like the Cycle Frontier, with the weapon customization and modability and a lot of but not all, the like movement and visceral combat that Tarkov has, what does that game look like? And that seems to me, I don't know that I'm adequately explaining what's in my head, but that seems to me the evolution. It seems to me I've come full circle. I used to want Tarkov to go open world, and now what I think I want is just a different game company to evolve Tarkov into open world. I don't think Tarkov can pivot that hard. I think what they might do is like stitch some of the maps together and make bigger maps, and I think that would be super sick and super fun and awesome. But I want like DayZ economy, Cycle server structure, Tarkov gun and combat. Smash that into a game.
Okay, so wait, but you're just talking about better combat DayZ. Like, so
No.
that's what I'm saying. Like, what would they? What part of Tarkov?
Infilling and exfilling.
Okay, so rather
That's
than
what I'm saying.
like,
That's the Cycle Frontier.
rather than have like, you know, boxes in a hut you build where you keep your stuff, that you want to be able to like get out,
just like the Cycle. Yeah, I want to like the Cycle's map was much bigger.
Is that different than like a safe zone?
I
where
think
you had
so.
Boxes.
I think so.
Like, it's functionally different, but like conceptually, is it like you cross this threshold and now you can go and put your stuff and sort it and be safe? Yeah. I almost feel like that would kind of be the same thing, except there's no like loading screen in and out.
But infilling is completely different, because infilling into the raid is now just leaving the safe zone where people can just camp. In the Cycle, when you click go, you don't know where you're going to spawn. Yeah, and that's what I want. I want a hideout, and I want there to be quest givers and things to do. And I click spawn, and I spawn into a map the size of DayZ map, or the size of Scum's map, which is like 3 times the size of Cycle maps. And the Cycle's map was 3 times the size of Tarkov's maps. I want to infill into that just randomly and be like, I got to do this quest. And I have 6 hours to do whatever I want to do, right? Not 30 minutes. And if I go off on my own little RPG, like I was going to do this thing, but then I killed the AI and I saw a player and I killed that player had this juice M4. Now I'm going to divert my path over to a dead drop, and I'm going to drop that M4 off there. Then I'm going to go back in and try to do my quest. I died. Oh no, I get back in. Oh, I spawn up here. I can make it to my body. I get back down to my body. I refight that guy. I win. I take my loot. I go accomplish my quest. And I want that. But the economy scaled way down, where it's not like millions of rubles and whatever I want, where like actually like looting and finding things and killing a guy with the juiced M4. Holy cow, that's crazy.
So DayZ with infill, exfil, and the ability to like get back in the same kind of server, like something about that.
Yep.
And
then also,
I mean, yeah, that would take like a week and a half for the DayZ guys to
or the Scum guys, right? Like, or the Deadside guys. And I think that would just be 900 IQ.
Yeah, but none of those games have good combat, right?
Correct.
Even like
they all have better combat than DayZ, but you're right. None of them have combat like Tarkov.
Combat like looks like hot garbage, and I hated the way it felt. But then when I watched JLK, he made it like look good.
He makes it look so good. I don't know how he does it.
But like otherwise, it's so janky. So
you're right that they don't have good combat. And
that's the hardest part, though. If it was bad. Which is kind of why I didn't really like, what was it, Marauders?
Correct.
Because it felt clunky. I
agree.
And the infill-exfil process was convoluted. I just wanted to get into the building. Yeah. I didn't want to have to get shot down 17 things.
The 2 things that Tarkov has that no other game has been able to come close to is 1, combat, which is a funny thing to say because all the things like Tarkov just gets in its own way with combat, with how like the stamina system works and how the weight system works. Like Tarkov combat is the best, and it could be better. They're so close to it being better. But the other thing that Tarkov has that no other game is looting. Like
we needed the Call of Duty when everybody was like, oh, they're just making the clone. They jumped the shark and they added a bunch of extra Call of Duty things. Everywhere you look, every phone on the corner, the payphone is a mini quest. Like the most busiest like Grand Theft Auto map ever.
Yeah.
If they had stripped it down, made it, but had the movement and the combat and the weapon customization, I mean, they could have knocked it out of the park.
They could have done that too, yeah. But that's what I want. And it's funny because, like, dude, the Escape from Deer Isle, as scuffed as DayZ is, and then think about DayZ level of scuffed and then making it much more scuffed, which is just like literally shoving Tarkov assets in everywhere you can. I can get lost watching Trade 24K play Escape from Deer Isle because it triggers that part of my monkey brain that's like, there's something here. There's something here. And I think if you take the best parts of Cycle, the best parts of DayZ, and the best parts of Tarkov, and you make that game, I think that game, I'm talking out of my butt here, but I think that game, I want to go to an alternate universe where I won the Powerball and I form a company and we make this game, because I believe this universe that like that game is the evolution. That game is Fortnite to the H1Z1, Battle Royale mod. It's the evolution. It's the perfection. I kind of think that's the perfection of this style of game. And what I just want to compel one of these other companies like Deadside or Scum.
Isn't that what Shroud and Sacriel and those guys?
Oh yeah, maybe. Listen, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they
if there's a chance in this world where we don't have hot dog fingers, I think like they're the last bastion. If they can't make it work, nobody will ever make it work, and the genre should die.
I agree.
Someone should take it out back and have it look out at the sunset while they slowly put the gun to Lenny's head. Lenny's head.
Yeah.
Just put him out of his misery, because everybody has tried to come on this hill and they've all died on it.
So I think that would make sense. And I want to compel one of these other game studios that tried to make the DayZ killer, that haven't made it, and that are struggling to gain players. And they're continuing to just try to make DayZ better. And I'm like, man, I think you can take this game and make Tarkov better. And I think that game would crush. And I don't think it would be really hard to make a proof of concept out of those games. If like the Deadside devs were like, hey, we're putting it all on the line for a month. We're going to make a few servers that run this way to test it. And then I think a few creators make some videos about it. And it's just viral and fun, like the old Fortnite days where H1Z1 mod, the King of the Hill, just went viral because it was so fun and everybody was playing. Like, I think that would happen.
I still want a Mordhau version, like a better combat, less fantasy of like Dark and Darker.
Yeah,
where it was like
that would be sick too.
I still envision the bear scene from The Revenant.
Yeah.
Well, I've shown you that, right? You've seen that. There's no way you've seen the movie.
I've seen The Revenant
because it's a good movie, but like that vibe where just out in the wilderness.
That would be sick. That's actually a really cool. But like people were talking about like the Cycle was great, and the Cycle had a lot of things. You know what's funny? You know what ended up ruining the Cycle? The economy.
I feel like it was the genre.
No. Well,
I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
I just don't want to play a space shooter. Sorry, I got over that with Halo 2.
I think that's part of it for sure. But what put the nail in the head of that game was when they stopped wiping. Like literally, you can the content creators and everyone.
I'll take your word for it. I stopped paying attention to it after I played day one
because the Cycle was different than Tarkov, but still a money-driven economy. It was all about like getting stuff and extracting and turning it in for quests and then selling and then buying the things and crafting like the best guns, buying them. And if it's about money and you stop wiping, everybody has money and everybody has everything. And what the hell is the point?
How long was that game like out for? Was it like a year, or like they should have just done like 4-month seasons like Diablo?
They did that for a while, and that was like I don't know why, but like they made a hard decision to stop. They were doing seasons, they were doing seasonal cosmetics, and every time a season would happen, it would wipe, and that was what kept the game. Every time they would wipe, they would see a boom in players. Now they never were like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of players, but when they stopped wiping, the game pretty much just died. The cheating thing got really bad, and then apparently they fixed that. But then I don't know. I'm no expert. I'm not saying I know that for a fact. This is all things I've heard. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is an economy, a money-driven economy, will die because everybody just ends up having everything, especially with no wipes. DayZ hasn't died because what the hell do you do with money, right? It's about stuff. It's that is emergent gameplay. That is replayability. Is I can lose it all, and then what am I gonna do? You know what I mean? So something like that where you run into an M4 with more than 3 attachments on it once a month, and because you know you could run into that, you keep playing. But. But we are 7 days into the wipe, Baron's Haas. I have 15 million rubles. In 3 more days, when I have max traders, I just can have everything I want. You know what I mean? And I know, let's say this happens a month. Let's say it's 6 weeks. Let's say 6 weeks from now, your max traders, you just can have everything in Tarkov. So now, I find just the combat and getting better really good, which is why I keep playing. But I'm saying when I'm in a raid, there's nothing I'm hoping to see other than single slot valuable items I can sell for money. That's all I want out of the raid. That's not all I want out of the raid. I want so many other things, but that's the only thing I can like hope for in a raid, as opposed to hoping that I run across a guy that has a juiced M4 or has a Zabralo. I can just have that whenever I want. So it's not, you know what I mean? So that's what I want. I want a game that gives me that feeling where knowing out there somewhere is a dude with a juiced gun that I haven't seen in a month, and I can go find him and kill him and take it and make it mine. But in Tarkov, all that is a red key card, right? I hope I find a blue key card or a red key card because you don't find them and that's rare, but everything else isn't. And so that was my tirade on like scum devs, deadside devs. Make a server like this, and I think it would go mega viral, and it would be fun. So yeah. Anyways, huge tirade there. We're already over 2 hours. Not a whole lot going on. I've seen some tweets where people are like, people get the ban message. Hey, you submitted this report and this person got banned. I've seen like 5 or 6 tweets of people. It says this report, this report, this report, this report, this report, this report, and 27 additional reports have resulted in bans. And so people are like, oh, cheating is so bad, like it's going crazy. Like people are like, all my deaths this wipe have been to cheaters. And then I was kind of fishy about that. Listen very carefully. There are cheaters in Tarkov. There are lots of them, and they are everywhere. But I just had a suspicion that message was bugged. And then Anton tweeted that he got that too, where it was like this, and 27 and 27 other reports on Factory, because it'll say them out, and 27 other reports on Factory. And he was like, I have not played Factory that many raids this wipe. Like I could not have reported. That's more Factory raids than I've played, let alone died to sus people. So,
God, so you must have the people who are like, are they just lying, or is it a bug?
Yeah, exactly. So it's all over the place. I think that what might be happening is it might be showing like 27 people reported that guy, and that guy got banned, and for some reason it's sending like, hey, all your reports on this guy, or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Who knows? Now, the flip side of that is I also very much so believe that the cheating has gotten pretty bad again. I've seen a lot of creators that I trust. I've seen a lot of clips. At this point, my opinion is really like, how bad is the cheating? It depends on where you live. Like I've just heard so much and have seen so much about like OCE servers and EU servers being so bad. I have gotten in. One completely blatant happened yesterday to me and Valiant. Completely blatant. He killed us both. And like 2 suspicious encounters this wipe. I've played 75 hours this wipe. But I know people that I trust that are like, dude, it's so bad. Sending clips of like absolutely getting cheated on. So at this point, it's where you live, man. I don't know. It's not a battle I can fight anymore because it's an unknowable battle. So why argue about it, right? That's where I'm at. There's 100 variables. I know one of them. I will not argue your position because I'm aware of how ignorant I am to the other 99 variables. So you could be right. You could be wrong. Something in between could be right. I don't know. At this point, I just like...
and neither do you.
And neither do you. So if you're like, bro, I get cheated on all the time, I'm like, I'm sorry. I believe you at this point. I don't know. If you're saying I never get cheated on, I believe you. We all know the reality is in between. If you think you never get cheated on, you've probably been in raids with a ton of cheaters that haven't killed you. And if you think you get cheated on, every single one of your deaths has been sus. You don't understand this game for Tarkov, but
and then you've got people like Fuzzy Bear getting banned.
Oh yeah, I saw that tweet. You retweeted it. Yeah.
Where it's like, I listen, I don't know him well enough to be able to I vouch for him, right?
Yeah, of course.
But it just wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
but there's just another average player who's not amazing. They're not incredible. They're not, the next Jesus to Tarkov. They're just totally average player that streams every minute of their gameplay.
Yep.
And you look through it, none of it looks sus on the VODs.
Yep.
And then they get banned with no explanation, no email, no recourse, no nothing.
Yeah.
And then no explanation. What I tweeted was, with how many times we know people have been falsely banned in the past.
Yeah.
Tweak, Anton,
yep.
Every like the list goes on. I'm not even going to say any more names. I genuinely think Battlestate Games needs to take a good long look at how they handle bans, how they communicate them to players, and how they go about some kind of appeals process. It's unacceptable in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the Deadly Slob responded, said, how does this keep happening? And I said, they refuse to admit they're capable of false bans despite banning and then unbanning countless people. I mean, content creators.
Yeah.
I said both manual and automated, and that actually includes a whole bunch of other things, including like the MOBA, motherboard issues that were happening. There's countless examples where they falsely banned, while at the same time entirely unwilling to remotely consider any kind of process improvements to remedy the real problem of false bans that they deny ever happens. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just a problem, and this isn't a problem. It's a problem. Nice guys like our boy Fuzzy Bear gets banned, right? But at the same time, all that is, and I've said this since day one, what that is it's an indication that there is a lot of all other false bans that are happening.
Yeah. The likelihood,
because there's no way that the 5 false bans that they did by accident that they fixed happened to be the streamers.
Yeah, the likelihood that the friendly fire is like 5 or 6 accounts out of the tens of thousands that get banned is just crazy. Yeah,
there's no way, right? So what they're doing when they unban Tweak or Anton or whatever, people get butthurt about it. You should be thanking them, because that's the best thing that could happen for everyone else, because it's the only steps towards them actually publicly admitting they false ban and are willing to unban. It's just they only do it when there's enough pressure. Well, in my opinion, the community needs to. I don't know. I don't know. And you know what? I hate to say it. I don't care. I'm not playing Tarkov. It ain't my problem.
Yeah. But it's still, you retweeted it because it's still brutal to see. You know what I mean? It's so brutal to see people get caught up in it.
Yeah, but I can't not play the game and then start a GoFundMe petition.
Yeah.
Let's get 100,000 signatures for blah blah blah, because it's this ship has sailed for me at this point, right?
Yeah.
But we all need to put ourselves in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
As a non-content creator, put yourselves in the shoes of a content creator whose living depends on this, and then you get banned. That sucks in a completely different other way than getting banned as a normie and not getting a chance to have any appeal. They all suck. And everybody needs to empathize with everybody all the time, more in all the things, not just Tarkov, everywhere. That's the rant. That's the stuff. Hostess. This is a microphone.
Dropped. I'll edit it, man, and I'll make that look so cool.
He just cuts it out and just moves it down. But you need this for the sound effect.
Sick.
Yeah, there you go. Just Foley that in. Cut this part out.
Foley that in. Oh, yeah. I feel you, man. I feel you. Yep. But that is the stuff. That is the Tarkov happenings. I am having fun this wipe. I had my expectations set accordingly. I don't think I'm going for Kappa. I think I'm just going to enjoy the Streets expansion. The only other notable thing is like they've tweeted out they're going to Gamescom, which is at the end of October, and that they will have Arena playable for people there. So we might get like a stream or some more information or some footage of Arena. That's kind of
where is that?
Gamescom is in Germany.
Yeah. Am I going to that?
Yeah.
9.
No, I would love to, but
9.
I hope some content creators that are over there get to, and I would be sick if a few people got to like stream it. You know what I mean? Like that would be sick if we got a little bit of footage. But they were making a big deal out of it. There's a countdown on the launcher to Gamescom. I think I don't think Arena's coming out at Gamescom. I think we might get some information, a stream or a new trailer, and that's interesting because I'm excited for Arena. That's really the only other thing.
It's gonna be FaZe Clan versus Ninjas in Pajamas.
Yeah,
live for $1 million, esport ready.
Yeah, listen,
winner gets a Dragon Lore in game.
I'm excited. So I think I'm just gonna vibe, have fun. I am just having fun playing this video game with my friends. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you again to HelloFresh and to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode.
To our patrons.
Again, thank you to our patrons. Seriously though, the support has been awesome. All of you that signed up for the Patreon, it means a lot. The support, we want to provide awesome content for you. That makes it worth it. Thank you for the support.
So far, we're 1 for 1. We're 1 for 1.
We are 1 for 1.
We haven't let you down yet. 100%.
If you are interested, podcast or patreon.com/thepodcastpod. It'll be links down below where we're going to ramble and rant and go on tirades about even more stuff. And there's all sorts of other features over there for you as well. So thank you to the patrons. And you guys are the best. Thanks for hanging. And we will definitely see y'all on the next one.
Peace.